Hi. You're probably wondering why I'm sitting underneath my slide.
We just wanted to talk a little bit about when we got our trailer. It was built in
February of this year.
2019.
Got to the dealership, I'm thinking around mid to late March, and we picked it up April 5th.
Okay.
So brand spanking.
Yeah, nobody got to tour this one. It came off the lot. We had toured other trailers, similar model that they already had on the lot. But this one came in and they gave us this one instead of one that's been sitting on the lot for 6 months.
Actually, they had two. I know one of them did sell just before we signed the deal. And the other one they wanted to keep for a sale item because it was actually at a trade show when we signed the paper. So we ended up with this one and we're happy with it.
Yeah. However,
there were a few minor issues off the hop, right off the hop. The main one would be the gray tank. I believe it was gray 2, which is the kitchen sink.
Yeah, we got to the point where we were doing an educational part where Brent was saying, you got to open the tanks. And I'm like, okay, I will open the tanks. I can do this. So I went outside and successfully opened up the black tank, and we dumped gray 1. And when it came to doing gray 2, I physically couldn't open it. Brent had opened it a few times and closed it a couple times before that. But when I went to, I said, Brent, I can't open it. But he couldn't open it either. So what we ended up doing is, because the gray 2 is the kitchen, I ended up being very, very careful when it had like 2 or 3 dots on the thing while we were waiting for Traveland to come out and fix the problem. I was taking water from the kitchen sink after I did the dishes and dumping it in the bathroom. So the other problem we came across when they came out to do the fix the gray tank valve, they also did the fridge. So Brent, there was something going on with the fridge when we first got the trailer. What was going on with that?
It was actually letting the cold air out, or heat was getting in. And the reason being, just like that, it opens, and then when you close it, there's a little slot that it fits into at the top, and it automatically closes the flap.
So what did he do to fix that?
Well, it wasn't doing that because the door was actually set about 1/8 of an inch too low. What the tech did when he came in, he put a couple extra washers on the hinge of the door at the bottom, basically jacked the door up, and now it works fine. 1/8 of an inch made a big deal, and it's all working good. Haven't had a problem since.
Fridge is happy.
Fridge is happy, we're happy, everybody's happy.
Okay. So, and when they came out and did the gray tanks, just another note, these poor guys, I felt so bad for them because they ended up working way longer than they needed to. They were here till like, what, 6 or 7 o'clock at night?
Yeah, it was a long day for them, that's for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so they
basically replaced the entire from the valve to the handle, the entire stretch to the gray 2 tank, and then they tacked everything back up, taped everything off, made it all nice and pretty, and it works great.
Yeah, it's haven't had a problem since, except for
the handles.
Plastic
handles.
We lost one on the way back from Kennewick.
Yeah, I guess it spun off because there's a screw that goes through the center of the handle into the shaft of the pull valve, and somehow it just spun off and disappeared somewhere on the road. I bought another one, put it on, and I guess I turned it a quarter turn too far and it snapped in half. So we're in the process of looking for some steel ones or metal or something of that sort. And that's where that sits.
Okay, well, I'm laughing at Wrigley right now because she's sitting at the door going, I'm really going to go outside.
I think I should take her outside, honey.
Wrigley, do you need to go outside? Do you need to go outside? Well, Dad will take you outside, okay? The other issue that we were having, and we have some outside video footage of this, was we had a gouge underneath the table slide. So today this morning, I'm waiting for the repairman from Travelland to come out and take care of this giant gouge underneath the slide in the kitchen area, so where the dinette and the big chairs sit. So when he came out before, he had indicated that potentially there could be a big screw or something. So they're coming today to jack up this side of this slide and have a peek underneath there to see what is causing this giant gouge in the surface of the underside of the slide. So we'll see what he has to say. This morning, the tech guys from Travelland came about, I think it was about 10 o'clock when they finally showed up. And so we're talking about the gouge underneath the kitchen slide. So he came in and he lifted up the rug. He lifted a bunch of stuff up. They brought the slide in about 6 inches or so, and then they lifted from the inside, and he was down here looking at the plywood and trying to figure out what was causing that gouge in the bottom. Turns out there's a piece of Teflon that the slide rail sits on, and the bolt for that was put in crooked. So that is what has been causing the big gouge underneath this slide.
So what we're going to have to do is take the whole unit in. Since we are living in it, well, we're going to have to spend a day at the dealership, and they're going to have to take the slide off.
With 2 dogs.
Yeah, with 2 dogs.
We're going to have to find something to do that day.
Yeah, that shouldn't be too bad. But apparently they have to remove the entire slide, fix the rail, fix the bolt that is sticking up, and then we'll be good to go. But
well, they said they would have to replace the floorboard.
the floorboard, this floorboard, or
Yes.
inside?
No, the floorboard. So
Oh,
the
okay.
piece that is damaged,
So
they would
yeah, the
replace
parts
that.
that are damaged, they will have to be replacing that as well. This is one of the few issues that we've had with our trailer. Grand Design's been very well built as far as I'm concerned. We've been living in it for 5 or 6 months now, and we've had a few issues, but nothing major. This is probably about the biggest deal that we've had, and the gouge just keeps getting a little bit deeper as we put it in and out. Luckily, we're not doing a lot of traveling right now, but it's in there about 1/8 of an inch now into the hardwood, into the bottom board here. So the more we put it in and out, the deeper the gouge is going to get. Hopefully they can get us into the shop within the next month or month and a half. And we'll see.
Okay, so we're in the bedroom. Another problem we had when the trailer was brand spanking new is we were pulling the slide in one of the first times that we were going to move the trailer, and I noticed as I was pulling the slide in that the bottom of the slide, the bedroom slide, was digging into the floor. Now you can't really see much of it. It's right there.
And I'm pretty sure nobody can see it.
Right there. There's a little ding in the floor.
Anyways,
So-
what the issue was, from factory, whoever built the box for the bed was either leaning on it while they squared it up or something. I'm still not sure to this day. Basically, the issue was this side of the bedroom slide box was about 3/4 of an inch lower than the other side. So this gap here, where you can see my finger underneath it, was basically 1/4 inch off the floor. And when we pull the slide in, it tilts a little bit and started digging into the floor about a full 1.5 feet before it was all the way in. So the service techs from Traveland, they were great about it. He knew exactly what the problem was. He came in, rebuilt everything, and it all works fine now. Although the trim piece, as we're pulling it back out one time, the corner bead, the corner piece on the bed snapped off. And they sort of found something to fix it, to make it look sort of good, but
it's not the same as what we had on there before. It's not as nice, so we'll have to get them to fix that.
It's not a huge deal. It's a minor cosmetic issue, so I'm not worried about that. But that works fine now.
So that was another quick fix that they hit. Well, it wasn't really a quick fix. He basically took the whole side of the bed apart, and it took him the better part of a day. And we had to unload everything that was in there at the time, which I think there's more in there now than there was before.
We thought that was an issue with the weight that we put in here, because we had a couple cases of pop and some water and a few heavier items that were in there. Turns out that's not the issue at all, because the Schwintek slide can handle the weight, and it was just all in the manufacture of the box.
I think with the tools you have under the bed on the outside slide probably balanced it out too.
Yes, that's where I keep a lot of tools, is outside.
Yeah. Okay, so if you want to close up the bed, then the other problem we had one time when we were putting the slide out after we had gone on a trip was
while we were traveling, one of my drawers, I believe it was the middle one, there's a little tab here that latches in and clicks shut and locks. Apparently this tab here had snapped off. So while we were rolling along in our traveling earthquake, the drawer slid out with the slide all the way in. We didn't check for...
No, I didn't check. It's my job to put the slides out. So I gotta have some job, right? Other than tidying and cleaning. So when I was putting the slide out, I think we got back to home base, and I heard something, and I was like, oh, that didn't sound good. So I came into the bedroom and checked, and I saw that the drawer was open and it was snagged.
This drawer here was snagged in behind the slide, and it was basically crushing the entire drawer, which threw everything off kilter.
Yeah, I think it was tearing it off.
Yeah, it literally was, because I had to pull this. Once we pushed the drawer back in, got the slide to where it needed to be, I had to pull the drawer out and basically pull all the staples out and rebuild it. I took it completely apart, rebuilt it, and tucked it back in. Luckily, the slide rails that were in the wall weren't too bent, and everything works fine now. And one other issue that we did have in the bedroom is in behind these drawers is our hot water tank. So the other morning we had a issue, shall we say, with water. Mary went to get up a little bit early, as she had something to do early in the morning. As she's in the shower, I hop out of bed to grab my clothes that I had put out for work the next day. They were soaked. We're in the 315 RLTS, and I have the small closet with the drawers below it. Directly below my drawers is the hot water tank, and the wall was a little damp, so I had to pull out two of the drawers quickly to see what the issue was. Apparently the hot water outlet from the tank was spraying against the wall on the inside. I had to go and shut the water off outside. Luckily it was after Miriam finished her shower, so that wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal that we had no water for a couple of days due to our dealer having their own water issues. Apparently they got flooded in a big rainstorm. So I'll show you what the issue was. Right down here, we've got the hot water tank, and this is the hot water outlet. This is the cold water inlet. These brass fittings from factory are plastic.
So when he came, he replaced them with brass.
Yes, the service tech that came eventually replaced the plastic ones with brass, and everything's fine now.
So
He also replaced the ends of the hose inlet and outlet with brass fittings as well. These were plastic from factory. This fitting was brass from factory. And it was just basically spraying right out of the top here, right out of the tank, spraying straight against the side of the wall.
So you
onto an electrical outlet.
Yay. You did try to do your own sealing, but that didn't work.
I tried to do it, but I had to use the equipment that I had, which wasn't good enough. And these brass fittings are much better, and hopefully they'll last a lot longer than the plastic ones from factory.
One more thing in the bedroom. So that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the fourth thing in the bedroom. So I was on my side of the bed, and over here right in front of the slide, I was saying to Brent, hey, the lino seems to be like bubbled up, like lifted from the floor. So I asked him, you know, what is this, normal, or should this be okay? Should we mention it? So we did mention it. They looked into it, and apparently they're going to have to remove the slide. So it's going to be another day hanging out at Travelland or finding something to do with the dogs. Another item that we had discovered when we were headed down to Kennewick for the Grand Design Rally.
It was our first rally, Kennewick, Washington, 2019.
So when Brent was attempting to, he was tightening the bolts and checking all that stuff and attempting to grease the suspension.
I was checking suspension and tires and all that good stuff. With the suspension, there are Zerk fittings on the suspension, and basically you put a little bit of grease in there and everything works as normal. There were 4 in total, 4 Zerk fittings, 2 on each side, and they were both on the same rear spring. That were, the Zerk fittings were in there properly, but the bushing, there's apparently a hole that is supposed to be pointing straight down during installation. It was actually mounted improperly. So there's 4 of those Zerk fittings that I could not put grease into. And the guy at Travelland that I spoke with when we took it in for the slide issue, he fixed it, no problem. He took all the wheels off, checked all the fittings, and everything's done properly. A+ for Travelland Service Department.
But didn't we have to stay an extra day for that?
Yeah, well, the slide ran a little bit longer than normal, than what they expected, so we stayed overnight in their parking lot. They gave us a water hookup, we had power hookup, so it wasn't a big deal.
We had a full 50 amps, so it was awesome.
Yeah.
We could have left the fireplace running all night. It wasn't that cold though. So yeah, so for the slide, the gouge in the bottom of the slide, we took it in. We took it in on a Tuesday or something?
I believe it was a Wednesday.
Okay.
We stayed Wednesday night, and then the Thursday morning was when the guy was able to look at the suspension issue.
Yeah, so we took it in. They basically did their thing. Apparently they had to pull the whole slide out and remove the bolt that was causing the gouge and I guess replace it. And then they put the slide back in, put the trim all back on, and
Made it all look pretty.
yeah, no, it's great. So it's no longer an issue, and they fixed the suspension problem, and happiness is. So
Yeah.
one more little problem, that's the bedroom slide. Apparently they've ordered parts for it, so I think it's probably something to do with the gears, or
I don't know. They told us that be 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know what the parts are. It's a minor issue. We'll find out in time.
In the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing major has gone wrong for us. We've heard horror stories about some other dealerships, some other products that have had their fridges go, or their furnace, or the fireplace, or whatever.
Yeah.
We have had no issues like that. Knock on wood. And everything that we've had issues with, like I say, Travelland RV in Langley, BC, A1.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job taking care of us,
Yeah.
and it's not been too long to wait to get approval from Grand Design and getting the parts and their this and that. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's what we want to talk about this week. We will talk to you soon, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button,
Ring that bell for notifications.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.